Hey guys, I have a fellow FDN practitioner on the podcast today to talk about something I always love to dive into, PEMF. So I'll have Alyssa, my guest, talk all about what that even is, PEMF, and her background as she's a non-practicing aerospace engineer that found the human body more fascinating than rockets. And after suffering her own health crisis, as all of us practitioners have our own story, in her early 20s, she went on a decade-long journey learning how to heal herself. And today, as an FDN practitioner and her research background combined, helped her take a deep dive into investigating clients, how they can be their best self with bio-individuality, as I do myself, and walking them to a path back to balance. And we'll talk about what that means and what Alyssa and her husband, Mike, started as we ran into each other at the Natural Product Show in Anaheim last March. And thought it was funny that we are both FDN practitioners in the holistic health space and what they're working with on their company purpose and passion and mission with the company called Align and what that is involving. So let me bring Alyssa on the show and she can tell her story. So you don't have to listen to me. Okay, I get to talk shop with Alyssa, and we're going to dive in deep into what I just said in the intro. Alyssa was PEMF, not explaining what it is. So this show is all about how we can be fit and healthy from the inside out at a cellular level, and what we do as FDN practitioners, and how you work on aligning people up from the inside out. So thanks for joining my show.
Thank you for having me. Excited.
Yeah. So I was giving you the intro, and I think it's funny but interesting. You say on the intake form, you are a non-practicing aerospace engineer that found the human body more fascinating than rockets. Please tell me more.
All right, without diving too deep in my story, because it can be long, I had graduated with a degree in aerospace engineering, and I had a healing crisis literally a year into my career field. And when I told my family that I was going to leave, they thought I was absolutely crazy. And I didn't know what that little voice inside my head was, my higher self talking to me saying, hey, if you stay here, you're going to die. But I was having all sorts of neurological issues. Doctors weren't connecting the fact that I'd had a history of gut issues from a childhood and being like super stressed out. I was a nationally competitive gymnast. I consider myself a recovering type A now, but yeah, working on rockets. And I actually was working with aeronautics predominantly. I was a civilian DoD hire to the Air Force. I was working on engines, so propulsion and fuel systems. And it was not that it was so stressful of a job, but it now looking back and the work that I do as an FDN and everything, the whole journey that I've been on for almost 15 years, I realized I was living out of alignment with my purpose. So,
Out
yeah.
of alignment. So your business is called Align. Well, you sell Align. Is that talking about that transition from getting in alignment, finding your
Yes.
purpose?
So the product are Align mats, and it is a synergistic technology that is three different things. So you mentioned PEMF, that is really the rock star of the mat. Our journey to even get here, again, I went on a 10-year long healing journey to heal myself and just understand how to be okay in my own body. FDN was a huge part of that because as I'm sure your audience knows, we're a PI for someone's health. So I got to dive in deep in my own health imbalances and really understand it from a very minute systemic and a cellular level. What was the imbalance in leveraging lab tests? So for me, being a researcher and a scientist, it was like the icing on the cake for me. So I started healing my own imbalances. And then I had learned so much at that point in time that I had to share it. My husband and I had been together in practice now 5 years. And we're like, okay, he works with the mental and emotional and the subconscious side. I work predominantly with the physical. And I'm sure you've worked with clients, and it's like we get 6 months in and we're helping resolve a lot of the physical challenges. And you get to a point where they plateau and they're like, but I don't feel well. And we're like, okay, well, if we don't address this, this is the control center, the top down, what the mind believes the body achieves. how are we going to get true body wellness if you don't believe you deserve to be well? So that's where Mike and I worked so beautifully together, because he'd help address the subconscious mind, the blockages, the beliefs, the energetic imbalances that just weren't translating from our master control center, from the brain into the heart and out into the rest of the body. And then Align came along because we've been involved with technology. I mean, for many years, I've used many different devices and things on myself and our practice. We'd recommend things. And it really was the question, like, how do we help more people? Because as FDNs, we walk with people sometimes, I mean, at a minimum, maybe 6 months, but mostly 12, 18 months. In many cases, I have clients that still call me years out. They're like, hey, I want to tweak some things, or this is going on. I mean, we're like forever students with our clients. So how do we help them have a tool that they can leverage and have it in their home? They can turn it on and tune out or tune in every single day, and they don't have to book an appointment or drive somewhere. So that was the question, like, how do we help reach more people, and how do we help people have a tool that they can use whenever they need it? So that is where
Interesting. I
Align.
like that. No, wait, a couple of things. One, 10 years journey as myself. I started at my adrenal exhaustion 2013, and it took me until 2020 to start figuring it out on my own as I became an FDN and I moved to here to really get myself relocate so I can fix myself. But it is a long journey. As you said, you 10 years to figure out your health issues.
All the layers, right? I mean, chronic fatigue as it shows up is like, okay, when we talk about like FDN and Reed talks about like the multiple onsets and like the body's a symphony, it's like this is the baseline. It doesn't matter if you fix like the root cause. It's like all of these other things are imbalanced now. So even if you go and drill into that root cause, well, it's like, maybe it was the fact that I grew up in Florida and was chronically exposed to mold, right? So that was like one thing. Maybe it was the fact that I was a type A, burning the candle at both ends. I didn't sleep. I piled on. Not only did I do aerospace, but I picked up a history minor. I was competing in fitness competitions. I was doing all of these things thinking that when I got sick, that my body was betraying me. I was like, how could
Yeah.
you? I'm like 23 years old. How are you falling apart now? And not realizing like all of these inputs, the fact that my circadian rhythm was a mess. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating the diet that was aligned for me. I was like living on as a bodybuilder. I was doing bikini competitions and listening to my trainers tell me to eat whey isolate protein that was so toxic for my body. So I wasn't digesting anything. So as you know, it's like this is a very long journey to unpeel these layers and all of the education that we had to learn, because square peg round hole, we're not like anyone else. So our bio individuality. So I think my whole emphasis and like reason for even getting into FDN is because I was super sick, and then I was like, well, how do I help other people not suffer for the duration that I suffer? They need answers now, and I never want anyone to feel like I did for as long as I did.
Well, that's what I was finding interesting as myself and working with clients is that it is the layers and layers, and how I was a personal trainer before I became a nutritional therapy practitioner and FDN practitioner, that it is as similar to you getting a mat. It's like I can only help people as a personal trainer, seeing them once, two, three times a week. I'm not getting anywhere than being healthy, which led me down the path of more of a holistic approach of, all right, well, if you're not sleeping right, if we're chronically stressed out, if we've got hidden stressors, if we are not eating the right foods for your body, there's so much more. And that's what I love, how we take a holistic approach, but how from that experience working with people and finding we're not really getting the results, sounds that your aligned business with your husband, you figured out here's something we can do day to day, as we talk a lot about the vagal nerve and chronic stress and how we can help heal. So when you came into thinking align, and the purpose is to coming kind of the overall theme of helping stimulate more parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah, so it's a re-education tool for the nervous system. How we think about PEMF is different than I think a lot of the companies in the market space. So we're operating on low intensity PEMF, or a resonant mat device, where people can leverage this tool when they feel stimulated. Literally for 60 seconds, you get off a stressful phone call, you can go sit or lay on your mat, come back to center, and you're re-educating your nervous system on what it's like to be in homeostasis, shifting out of sympathetic overdrive.
I
Yes.
Can you just back up and say what PEMF is? Because I didn't
Yes.
say what that is. It was my lead in,
Yeah.
but I didn't. Can you explain that?
Pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. So, what that basically means is that we're sending a pulse of electricity into the body. This is measured in a hertz frequency at a specific intensity, which is measured in a Gauss. So, electromagnetic, these two components create a field. Our body, every single cell in our body is like a little battery, and that battery needs to be charged. Our original charging pad is the Earth's surface. We have walked on this Earth's surface for tens of thousands of years, and only in recent decades now, due to rubber-soled shoes and living indoors most of the time on concrete foundations, have we disconnected ourselves from the natural charging pad that charges our cellular batteries. So PEMF is this incredible tool now that we can bring into our home and leverage that basically brings nature into the house and helps us recharge at a cellular level.
I always find that so fascinating since I moved from Seattle to San Diego, North San Diego, where I go Friday nights, find us at Del Mar Beach, 25th Street. We're walking to Torrey Pines for an hour walk. And how amazing it is how it restores and recharges your batteries when I look up, all right, what is actually happening when I'm grounding or earthing or, walking in your bare feet on the sand in the ocean, how it works. And it's so fascinating when I start to study, okay, how does high tide and low tide work and the full moon and when it's low and it's high and all this happens. And it's all about that we are just recharging our battery, basically. We're plugging in and recharging.
We liken the mat to walking barefoot on a beach. And that's where it's like when I said it's like three synergistic technologies in one. The PEMF is the rock star of the mat, but we have 30 pounds of globally sourced stones in the mat. Like we work with mines all over the world to ensure the genuine quality of the stones we're using. Because when you're walking on a beach, think about that sand, that silica, those minerals interacting with salt water, also minerals, and then water's conductive. So what's happening, again, recharging our cellular batteries, but those stones and the negative ions that are produced from that in research helps increase our serotonin levels, so our happiness hormone, and releases free radical damage from the body. So think about pollution and all of that. It helps our body naturally detoxify in that sense. And then when we're walking barefoot, this is a physics problem. We're actually absorbing electrons from the earth. So we want to be more negatively charged at a cellular level so we can conduct more energy. And when our body has more energy, this isn't like drinking a cup of coffee, like having the jitters, but more cellular energy when our mitochondria, so thinking about like middle school science, the little powerhouse of the cell, produces more ATP, which is this unit of energy that we need for life. We can operate all of our body processes more effectively. And that includes getting deep sleep, which so many people are deprived of deep sleep. They're wired and tired, their circadian rhythm's off, they're exhausted, but they go to bed and then they can't sleep. So Align helps people get this deep restorative sleep, and that's where the body heals itself most effectively. So it sounds counterintuitive, like we're giving you more energy, but you're getting better sleep. Yes, because when the body is just like overtired, it doesn't literally have enough cellular energy to put us to sleep. Sounds
Okay,
crazy.
so let's pause and rewind. Going back to the cell, and you're talking the word mitochondria, you got me there. So focusing on, so I'm trying to do this YouTube series all the time, talking about oxidative stress, free radicals, mitochondria, and how to improve the aging process, because it seems to always come down to cellular level, specifically in the cell or mitochondria. So say that again, kind of, I gotta map it out here. So we've got our mitochondria in our cell.
Yes.
And as we age, we have less mitochondria. And so my goal, especially doing metabolism testing, is to teach people how to create new mitochondria. So biogenesis. And in order to get new ones, we want to get rid of the old, damaged, dysfunctional mitochondria. So that's the cell autophagy or mitophagy. And how work this into the order of operations. How is this helping me improve my cell health? Because as I age, one more thing is we have, especially as athletes, less support of antioxidants. We have more oxidative stress, less resiliency as we age in general. And then you get people exercising, they're creating more reactive oxygen species. So we have two things against us, getting older and being fit. exercising, we're creating more exhaust fumes. I like to think of it as creating more reactive oxygen species or more exhaust that can damage our cells, even though we're doing all the right things. So take it
So
away.
even just at a mitochondrial level, mitochondria by producing energy create oxidation. Like
Mm-hmm.
just by them, like cells respirating, like it's just a
Yeah.
natural human body process. So it's not about like the ultimate oxidant where you're talking about like exhaust fumes, like sucking on a tailpipe to like having all of these antioxidants. It's a balance. Like the body
Yeah.
needs to be in balance. Men are like, oh, I need more testosterone. I'm like, yes, but you still also need a balance in the system of estrogen, which codes for every cell in our body has like a time clock that's dependent on estrogen. So it's funny, like the body requires balance. So I want to bring people
The
back to that.
Goldilocks effect for everything.
That. It's not any one thing, it's all of the things in the right balance. So, as far as like looking at the cells in the body being little batteries, so the mitochondria, there's three different stages to actually producing energy. And the most energy dense is talking about the electron transport chain. So, when we get down to these cellular processes, I'm looking at, okay, how is the body, does the body think it's safe to heal, first of all? Because if we're in fight and flight and running from a tiger, we're expending all of this extra energy. It's a metabolism problem because now the body's taking any sort of like healthy tissue. When our cortisol's up, it can actually start scavenging healthy tissue to escape this danger. So you have all of your athletes that are working out and pushing so hard. And initially, this is like eustress. We think about working out as healthy for the body, but at what point in time is it like damaging to the body that we can't repair, especially if we're not sleeping, getting the proper nutrition and hydration? So this is where Align is really an incredible recovery tool, especially for athletes, because it's helping the body get into these states of parasympathetic. It's helping the body now when you're in parasympathetic and we're taking off of this invisible armor that we wear when we're being chased by a metaphorical tiger. And that metaphorical tiger can literally be your phone dinging. So the body doesn't heal in that state. So, first of all, shifting the nervous system. So now we take off the invisible armor. It's allowing for more fluid flow, circulation. And at the cellular level, when we're talking about energy, now we're creating a charge with the PEMF at a cellular level, creating more charge across the cell membrane. We talk about aging as a problem with mitochondria. Well, aging is also a problem with toxicity. We're walking around in this toxic soup, and if the body cannot detoxify more effectively because of an energy problem, because of the fact that the cell is just in this locked down state, you're going to be exhausted all the time and then wondering why, like, oh, I'm just getting older, and people give that as an excuse. And it doesn't have to be like that. So I'm here to tell you that, like, don't buy that, that's just like hype and the matrix. Like, break out of that. And it's like, we have the ability to heal ourselves every moment of every day. The body wants to heal, the body wants to be in homeostasis. A body in dis-ease, a body not at ease, is not our natural state. So take a couple minutes to get on your Align mat or go barefoot and walk out on the beach, absorb these electrons, increase the cellular charge across the membrane. And what happens is that it allows the cell to uptake nutrition, so the building blocks of every healthy cell, and it allows you to detoxify waste more effectively. So we're able to create these body processes of mitophagy, autophagy, and all of these things to actually get rid of the cellular toxic cellular waste.
So you're getting the cells, you're recharging the cells. So when you're lying on the mat itself, I'd like to understand why. And so it goes, we're probably all in sympathetic nervous system, ideally testing your heart rate variability with a heart rate strap, not depending on your aura, because we want to look at the low frequency to high frequency rate on a true heart rate variability test. And look at when you're getting on your mat, I'm lying there, and what happens? What's going on if I'm just lying there? Because people don't ever really might not feel something and they don't understand, like, is this working or not? So what's happening when I just get on the mat to start?
So that's the difference between low intensity PEMF and high intensity. High intensity tends to feel like a TENS machine where you're actually like contracting, like it's a visceral pulse that you're feeling, but that's not soothing to our nervous system. So again, our goal is different. High intensity was great when it was developed with NASA and for the astronauts in the vacuum of space, where you're trying to force that cellular change to prevent osteoporosis and help increase tissue regeneration, right? So there is a really great usage for high intensity PEMF, and that's like time and place, right? So our design with Align mat to have this low intensity, we have 8 cores of the PEMF in the mat that are sending out these pulses. The pulses go into the body, and because your body's a living ecosystem, your body is delivering this energy where it needs to go. So this is where it's super cool that you don't have to be like laying flat on your mat to get the benefits. You could literally, like you're walking on a beach, standing barefoot on your mat, and it's going to deliver that energy again from your feet. Say you have, a right shoulder issue, or, you just did a chest workout and you're sore. It's going to deliver that extra energy to help your body, again, increase circulation, tissue oxygenation, nutrient absorption, reducing the lactic acid at a cellular level. So it's really great for post-workout recovery for athletes to relieve stress on the body, which looks like soreness in our muscles, and help us get into deeper sleep, even though you don't feel it. And there's some people, I mean, subperception for some, but other people feel gentle tingling sensations, pulsing and waving at the higher frequency levels where you're getting more energy into the body at a cellular level. So it's different for everybody's body. Where someone's like, I don't feel it. And then I'll turn around, we're doing a demo and I look back and they're snoring, like they're just sleeping. So their body's taking from it what it needs. And if you were sitting there twitching and flopping around on the mat, it probably wouldn't be pretty relaxing for you.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people, as when I was personal training full time, I started to pay attention. A lot of people they're not in touch with their own body. They can't feel. So I think that's when we now know that they're probably more sympathetic dominant, that they don't have that mind body connection. Do you feel that those people that don't feel anything, they need to do some breath work or something to shift more parasympathetic, or do some essential oils on the vagal nerve?
I mean, I'm never against doing any additional modalities, like anything that helps someone drop in. The cool thing, again, the frequencies are working whether you're aware of them or not. And what we're seeing across the board, and you're talking about heart rate variability, is that we're seeing improvements in stress resilience and heart rate variability from every participant that we've done clinical research with thus far, and upwards of 30% improvement in sleep quality, deep sleep quality. So we are measuring. We started doing clinical research back in February, and that's something that's near and dear to me, being an aerospace engineer. Like, I love the data, I love the research, and we want to substantiate our claims. Then this is what really makes us different in the market space from other devices, is that like it's our components, it's everything, all of our intention and integrity into creating this product, so it's having this desired result to help people.
It's just so amazing to think how our body works, and how if I can't stand on the beach, and standing on your mat, how that can give you the same sensation, and lying on it, how that does so much to your cells, just lying on a mat. So I think it's hard for people to wrap their head around, like, what? This really does something for my cells, and I'm actually a battery recharging.
So it's like we talk about modern solutions to modern problems, and that was one of the biggest things. I mean, for the last 8 years, I started with personal training as well. So it's interesting. We have a very similar journey. And I was seeing that when I was on that path, I was still struggling with my own gut issues and internal issues. And I'd see the same in my clients. I'm like, there's got to be more. It's not just like the outside in approach. We work out more, we cut calories and whatever, like to get to this desired look, like, but still feeling like crap on the inside. So Align is working inside out, right? We're working at a cellular level, and it works. It's like it's mind and body as well. So when you take off this invisible armor that we call, this sympathetic dominant nervous system, the thoughts calm down too. Top down, like the chemical cascade that's happening from brain into body, that fight flight calms down. So it's just this beautiful process to witness, where someone doesn't have to know how to do breath work or meditate or put on oils, although they're amazing. You can literally be sitting and watching TV or having a conversation with your client, and they could be receiving the benefits from this technology, just like they were grounding outside in nature.
And how does it, sorry, the yard guy comes, so you guys hear my,
Here, I think it's blocking it. You're good.
It's supposed to come earlier. The mow and blow noise drives me nuts. So I always feel that, to get nutrients into the cell, how does that work on the mat? You said that getting the cells to get nutrients in it, how does that work?
So it's actually when you create charge across the cellular membrane. So remember, I was saying like the more negatively charged that we are, the higher propensity that we have to produce our energy. It's so a physics problem is kind of like top level, and then we get to the chemistry where people talk about if you're more acidic, you're more prone to getting dis-ease in the body.
Mm.
Well, this is going along the lines of that. So like you want to be more negatively charged. Um, so when the body's in, okay, so we got two issues here. So the physics problem, but then the chemistry is like the fight flight, right? So when the body's
Mhm.
wearing this invisible armor, fluids aren't flowing as well, we're not digesting food as well, our hormones, it's not time to make babies, so everything is imbalanced in the body. So we help shift the nervous system, we help you feel super soothed, calmed, and relaxed. The one thing we didn't talk about is the mat also incorporates infrared heat, and it's in
Mhm.
this bioresonant wavelength range that mimics what we experienced in the womb with mom. So it feels super soothing to our body. So that's like the initial tactile feeling that you get when you sit or lay on the mat. Like you'll feel the heat. The heat's helping the stones produce the negative ions, which we mentioned increases serotonin levels. So you instantly just feel this level of peace. And then the frequencies can go into and through the body to do their job. Your body's the infinite wisdom that's delivering it where it needs to go. So we talk about like the extracellular matrix and the fourth phase of water, where it's like this plasma gel, this water is actually, moving through our fascial tissue and what connects everything in our body. That's how you can literally put your baby toe on the mat and it's delivering it all the way to your brain. Like it can go anywhere. It's not the mat that's super smart. The mat's a tool. Your body's the wisdom that's already orchestrated all of this.
That's just amazing. I always love learning this stuff. So I've been on a PEMF table, the pulse method tables at conferences, and you say your left side of your low back hurts. You'll feel the sensation of the pulse electromagnetic therapy going into that section. So how does it just your own body's innate intelligence shows, okay, this is where there's congestion and it will move there, or how's that work?
Yeah, when we're talking about like we're in an energy crisis, the body, again, like in its infinite wisdom, is like, hey, there is less energy going here, there's less charge. Think about if you get like a chiropractic adjustment. They're looking for alignment in the spine because now the spine has the nerve endings that come off of each disc that are sending energy and information. It's like a superhighway, right? So if we have a level of imbalance, it's not getting that energy to the end point. The body knows this. So the body's like, hey, we don't have enough energy here to operate the body processes, whether it is at an organ level or like your low back's tripping at you from walking around a conference all day. It will actually send that energy there. And then what it does on a mechanical level is it looks like increased blood flow, increased tissue oxygenation, and then that nutrient absorption and excretion of waste. It just helps the cell operate literally at a mitochondrial level better.
Mm. Yeah. And so are you finding just for anti-aging, you're saying it comes from the cellular health, mitochondria?
Mitochondria, yeah. So it's like if what I say, like, oh, your wrinkles are going to be gone. No, but will you be sleeping better at night so your body is actually regenerating and repairing itself? Absolutely. And that's what we're
Mm.
seeing in the data and we're able to measure and quantify. So that sleep propensity, the heart rate variability, again, when we're living in a stress response state, that lowers our immune function, which we know, and obviously increasing our stress is aging us faster. It's not safe in our world, so it's like the body is going through these natural cellular processes so much faster. um Drinking stimulants and all of these other things that we're doing that are damaging to us, but we're looking for more energy, but it's not actually helping us at the cellular level. It's not giving us what we're looking for. It's just like this thermogenic caffeinated jittery effect externally, like it's again that outside in approach. Let's drink something and have an effect. Well, let's help the body actually operate better and then not need to rely on these things.
Yeah. Well, that's why I try to call this podcast. I was trying to do the being fit and healthy from the inside out, but it's not a really good title, so I just stuck with my name. But my main goal is to help us be fit and healthy from the inside out at a cellular level as we age is my focus on the show, and figure out what we can do to invest in our current self to be our best in the future. And I just was saying today on social media that it's you here online. I was hearing an ad and just last night about investing your 401k or your stock market, wherever you're putting your money. But it's like, wait, am I investing in my health? And I just had this aha. I'm like, okay, so I did a social media post today on make sure you're investing, not just you're storing your money away in your money count, but what are you doing for your own self? So when
It's
you are able to
awesome
spend that money, you actually have health, and your
to
health is your
enjoy
wealth
it.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And I love that you're bringing attention to that because we think about like investing in this like rainy day fund and having insurance and all
Oh,
of
I'm
these things
worried.
for the what if. And it's like, if we are not taking care of ourselves now, like,
Yeah.
why don't we have these little tools that help us feel good now? Because most people are
Mhm.
walking around feeling like crap and just like, oh, one day I'll have time to get to the gym, or one day I'll regulate my sleep schedule, and like, oh, that's for them and not for me. And it's like I hate seeing it in our world where someone waits for catastrophic failure to start peeling back the layers that they could work on now where they're free of symptoms.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I've just had this aha lately, especially last 2 years when my dad passed away. And I see my mom's 83 and all of her friends that I've known a long time. Everyone's actually, I keep trying to tell everyone on the show, guys, take care of yourself because you seem to go first. Everyone's husbands are dying first. And, you know, the problem is that age, that generation, it's just relying on your doctor to give you medications. There's no personalization, is what we'd love to see. But the importance of taking care of yourself at middle age, my age, you're younger than I am, but age 50, age 45, I think we should start really thinking of our retirement fund and what we're doing, because why work your whole life to retire to be not able to do jack crap, and you're sitting in a retirement home and you have to use a walker, or you're going to the doctor every week for some new medication. That's
Yeah,
my new
what's the
aha.
point?
Yeah.
What's the point of living longer if you can't enjoy it? So it's like we're talking about centenarians and increasing longevity or like the length of life, but I want to increase health span. So I love that we're having this conversation because I even look at myself in my early 20s who I thought I was healthy. And again, like when my boss from the Air Force was bringing me to the hospital, like I looked like the epitome of health. They're like, what's wrong with this girl? Like I said, I was competing in fitness competitions, but I looked like the epitome of health on the outside and I was dying on the inside. I was literally the
Yeah.
most unhealthy that I ever have been, but I didn't have tools. Like I
Mm.
thought I was educated, but I had no idea what it meant to have true wellness. And I feel like there's still such a gap in the market where people are relying whatever generation they're at. Even, I'm in my
Yeah.
late 30s and it's like I still look at people my age that are going to their primary care and they're just such a limited toolbox of drugs and surgery, like, oh, you don't need that organ, let's just cut it out. And it's like, you absolutely do. We're talking to a girl my age that they want to do a full hysterectomy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, let's work upstream and figure out where the imbalance is coming from. So again, just giving people hope and that there is another way, first of all, that they're just lacking some information. And I feel like, again, conversations like these are so important.
Yeah, definitely working upstream to figure out the why. And I think that's even true for functional medicine. Naturopaths is, even if you take functional medicine labs and look at solutions with supplements, we're still not fixing why is it happening.
It's still
I,
like a Western medical model, and we're seeing that a lot as well, where it's like people are using like a pill for every ill, and we're still translating that now to the holistic model with supplements. So it might not be
Mhm.
prescriptions, but it's like, all right, we talk about, root cause, but still working at the body as like a whole ecosystem. Like where's the onset? If you're, I'll give the example of the moldy house. If you're still
Yeah.
living in mold and you're doing all of these other things right, but you're still pouring gas on the fire, you're not gonna be able to get better.
Yeah. So I just wanted to pull up your website because I think visual helps.
Yeah,
So
do it.
I wanted to show the map because I have a
Love it.
biomat and it does the farm fed heat and has some crystals in it. So what's the difference of doing your mat to PEMF mats? Because they look the same, but I know they're different.
They are different. So, okay, first and foremost, I think we have one of the largest resonant devices on the market to accommodate a wide range of body types. And as you see, like it meets you where you're at. So, like
Mhm.
mom with their kiddos, it's something that you can enjoy as a family. Pets absolutely love it. Watch out if you have an animal, they will literally push you out of the way to get on the mat because they know the frequency that feels good for themselves.
Mm.
So again, when we're talking about synergistic, like all three of the technologies that are in the mat work together to provide this experience that you feel in your body viscerally. And what I mean by that, for some, it's just going to feel super soothing and relaxing. And then some people literally feel this gentle waving and pulsing of energy. So what you're looking at, again, 30 pounds of globally sourced stones, and the Zen mat that you're looking at here has 7 different energy center aligning stones, basically to mean different mineral composition that affect the body differently. So going back to the theory of walking barefoot on the beach and how it helps make our body more conductive. Think about drinking electrolytes, like what we do to help regulate fluid balance and energetic connections in the body. So that's how I liken the stones. Infrared heat, again, feels super tactile. It's the same heat you might experience in a sauna for a completely different purpose. In an infrared sauna, whole goal is to sweat out toxins. On the mat, I want you to feel just very safe, comfortable, and soothed. I don't want you to be overheating. Although it does help with the muscles, so you can do that for a shorter amount of time if you want to go up to a higher heat. But again, when we're talking about nervous system regulation, I want you to feel comfortable. And then that allows the frequencies to go in and do their job most effectively to help again with releasing sore muscles, so improving recovery times, improving deep sleep quality, and helping us just feel safe, relaxed, and in homeostasis.
So improving recovery time, how is it helping? Explain that.
So it's literally halving the time that you'd experience like fatigue and sore muscles. So if this was a tool that I had when I was competing in gymnastics, I probably wouldn't have sustained the number of injuries that I had had. I was just training too many hours and not focused on recovery. I think this has been the biggest missing aspect. And I think it's finally starting to be recognized, especially at the elite level, that we need to recover. And the slogans like no days off and, go hard or go home have been really great and served us to get out of bed in the morning. But, at what cost to our adrenals and cortisol and all the things that we've done to break our body down. So when we're talking about longevity, reducing injuries, helping improve cellular function, helping increase your energy and less fatigue potential, this is an incredible tool to have on hand.
Well, I think it's also, you're saying the high charging individual, high performer that tends to do more is better is what kind of clients I get. And sounds yourself that we get the type A to triple A that think more is better. So they probably want to do the full intensity and do everything to the max. It's like, I want to get the most of it can. I'm going to skip from level 1 to level 5.
Yeah. And it's like, well, what's really cool about our technology too, and it's like, okay, if you click on that picture, we work with Top Gun fighter pilots. This is a gentleman that was an Army Ranger, 110% disabled from the military. Like, so we work with really high level performers and meeting people wherever they're at. Like the stealth mat we developed specifically with our veterans in mind, and those dealing with any mental and emotional PTS, anxiety, depression, capital T trauma. Because the black tourmaline stone, and that's the only stone that's used in this mat, feels like an inverse weighted blanket. So it literally feels like someone is getting a warm hug. And for this demographic, when their nervous system shifts, it feels safe. On the Zen mat, the Zen is very light. It's uplifting. It's floaty. It sounds strange to say that because it's not like a logical or a technical term. But the two mats, because the mineral composition interacts with the body differently, they feel different. So, yeah.
So when you're doing the mat, let me get into the picture, but go back here. How long do you stay on it?
So that's what's really cool about low intensity PEMF, because we are mimicking nature, and it's to give you a range. We talk about electromagnetic intensity. If you were to walk barefoot on the Earth's surface, that's 0.5 Gauss of intensity. The mat operates between 3 and 10 Gauss, so still in the really low range, but it's providing this experience. You can stay on the mat. At minimum, we suggest 20 minutes in the morning, wake up, recharge, have more energy for your day, focus and clarity. 20 minutes a night before you go to bed. Everything's modifiable in our mat. This is what I was leading into. That's really cool, is that all the frequencies are adjustable. We literally have delta brainwave settings that are going to match your brainwaves for deep rejuvenating sleep, all the way up to like gamma brainwave states, different mood states. And then we've compiled the last 60 plus years of published PubMed research that have substantiate all of the frequencies that we provide to our clients in a secret frequency list for things that they can work on specifically for imbalances.
You can keep talking because I can't hear anything right now.
I
So
promise you, I can't hear if you said the gardeners are there, but I can't hear
I
anything
don't,
in the background because
I
your
can't hear
computer.
anything. I can't think is my problem. So
Oh,
when I do the biomat, I put a towel over me or a blanket? Does that help change anything? If you kind of feel you're in a cocoon, does it matter?
you can. Yeah. So we've worked with a company called Baloo that does weighted blankets, and people
Mm.
love that experience when we're demoing them. So they just feel like they're wrapped up in a cocoon. We do also have a mat cover. So if you don't want the stones exposed, or if you're working with clients in a clinical setting, you can actually cover the mat with it's kind of like a waterproof layer on the bottom. It's like a mattress cover, essentially. And
Yeah.
yeah, so you can meet yourself wherever you're at. So if you want to feel like you're going to be wrapped up and cuddled and warm, or if you want to just lay on the mat, we have people that do yoga on the mat. So it's versatile in that sense that you don't have to know how to do any modality to get the benefits from it.
Well, yeah, and I like the colors too. They're fun. The, I think to me, it is affordable way compared to my sauna. I spent $7,000 on. So this is something that you can use anywhere. It's not a big, huge thing. You can get a lot of benefits that you might not all the benefits of a sauna. It's different modality, but you said the near infrared heat, or is it far infrared? What did you say?
It's far infrared
Far
wavelengths
infrared.
between 6 and 14 microns, which is known as like bioresonant to the body. So that's what helps the nervous system and the cells feel super safe and soothed because it's something that we experience from solar radiation from the sun. So like I don't think anyone can walk barefoot on a beach and say I'm in a bad mood. Like you notice like your mood just shifts. Like
Yeah.
everything that the body needs to feel human and alive exists there in nature. So nature didn't make a mistake, but this is coming in response to the fact that for years we told our clients to go out and go stand in their backyard and get this, ground, and they wouldn't do it. So, or for logical reasons like, hey, I live in Manhattan and it's a concrete jungle and I'm high rise. So, there's reasons where it's like, hey, we want to help meet people where they're at and make it super simple to bring this tool into your home so you can feel better, improve your performance. Like we work with a lot of chronically ill people. So it's like it meets you wherever you're at on your health and wellness path.
Mm. Yes, I think it is important to do. And as I cannot hear anything. So it's hard to, it's a spirit that you can't hear it. And I can't speak because I can't think because of the noise. That's not connected. So it's
Gotta love the
funny.
landscapers.
I know. And I was going to say that I love walking on the beach, as I said, but what's funny, you said you can't be unhappy or grumpy walking the beach. The best thing we always say is go to Del Mar Dog Beach. If you want to be in a good mood, it's so hilarious because dogs are off leash on the beach. And I've never seen the Pets movie. Well, I've seen parts of it, but I always think of it, this is like a live version of the Pets movie, the Disney movie, or whoever made that. But all the dogs are out there playing the beach and they're talking and playing. And so walking on the beach plus dog beach is a great way to restore, recharge your cells and get your body happy energy. Vitamin G, as Ben Azadi says.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of nature. Like nature didn't make a mistake. Nature's been there. That's why we've adapted to still be on this planet. So, I mean, that's going to be my go-to first and foremost for anyone. Like, meet
Yeah.
yourself where you're at, though. If you are the person that's type A, you're working two jobs, you're trying to just make it to the gym, you got the kids, like all of these tasks, and you're the person that comes to a health practitioner, like, I don't feel great, but need a tool that you can bring into your home to feel better. This is an incredible way where you can, again, meet yourself where you're at this point in time in your life and help energize yourselves to feel better.
Yeah, no, I definitely need to get this in part of my routine because I've used it, demoed it, and it's just honestly not selling this at all, but it does, you feel results right away. I mean, at the time, and I can never afford the higher, or what's the other company, not higher dose, but PEMF table, the pulse method. They're for more clinics and they're 30,000, 20, 30,000.
Yes.
So this is easier
Yeah.
way to get the benefits of the PEMF mat in your own home.
That's been on our heart where it's like there's definitively a range in the market space, and it's something that we were super intentional with every component that we added into the mat. We pulled apart dozens of mats for 2.5 years. We did research and development before we actually produced the line, and we put in all of the highest quality components. So that's where it's like we're definitely not the cheapest in the market space, but as practitioners, like wanting to have tools when we were sick and when we were going through our own wellness journey that would have helped us on our path. Like it was really important for us to be accessible at the price point that we were selling at, or we are selling at, to be accessible to people to bring into their homes.
So, different question. I'm always curious because I always have these great ideas. How did you ever create this idea and put it to market?
It came from our exposure to other tech, right? So it's like I've been on other mats for a freaking decade now or more. My husband was actually invited into a private meeting when they were bringing Healy to America from the EU. This is going back almost 10 years ago now. Like, so we've had exposure to other energy modalities, and fitness. I mean, compression boots, Theraguns, like all of these things. Like, so tech wasn't like foreign, but it was like, how do we have a singular tool? And looking at like my own nervous system dysregulation and my journey, what is going to help me the most, and measurably so that's where we started pulling apart mats. Like, actually, it was a biomat. You mentioned that you have one. That's been FDA cleared for a very long time, that incorporates the heat and the stones, but no PEMF. My husband is super freaking strong. He was former bodybuilder as well. Had never had a back issue, and like tweaked his back at the gym. This is before the pandemic, and a friend of ours brought over a biomat, and he laid on it. And he's a born medical intuitive, so he's very much on like this side of like listening to his body. He's super sensitive, highly empathic. And he's like, I'm going to set the intention to heal myself. And he got really intentional with his meditation on the mat. And he gets up like 20 minutes later and he's like, I feel fine. Like all of the inflammation had reduced. I mean, granted, he was in that meditative brain and heart coherence state, but on the mat. And he's like, okay, this is great, but we need to add more. So it was literally him like going into this meditative state, and it was like a download. Like he got this channel that was like, we need to create something in order to help more people. And that's where it was birthed. And we started our journey of research. I mean, again, we've pulled apart, you mentioned a couple other products, like we've pulled apart every one of those mats in the market space, looking at their components, saying what works, what doesn't work, how do we make it better? And that's why we're seeing the results that we're seeing now.
But when you have an idea, how do you get it made? Like, do you have to go, how do you get all those parts?
Yeah, so this is crazy. His mom actually funded our very first prototype, like buying materials and stuff. When we got together, we were in a very different position, and we were non-essential workers when the pandemic happened. So both of our businesses closed, and I had no online business with nutrition yet. So it was like obviously somewhat of a scary time, but a
Yeah.
magical time as well, that people believed in us enough and saw that we had this vision. So we started sourcing stones. That was the hardest part of our journey, because we're literally like calling up mines in like Brazil, and the language barrier, and like we work with Turkey. Like, so we work with mines all over the world and wholesalers. So it's just crazy. Whereas like our initial part of our journey is like just trusting and having faith. And I think this is with any entrepreneurial path, is like just knowing and believing that you're in the right space and this is what you're supposed to do. Because I can tell you so many times where when we got our first stones, it's like people would send us like, the aquarium rocks, like
Mhm.
garbage and like painted glass. And it's like, there's no energy coming from that. Like real semi-precious stones have a crystalline structure. Like there's actually, they're minerals and you can feel it. Um, so that was part of our journey, putting it together, finding the right textile company that could even sew that. So, I mean, I love the relationships that we've built now. And that's a huge part of it, is like everything that we do is relationship based. We trust the people that we work with, and it's like an open line of communication. But yeah, being on that journey and early on and like having things come together, it's beyond a labor of love. I don't know how to tell you, but just like having the ability, like the grit, I guess, to stick with it. And I think that comes from, we're speaking to athletes on here, like, what it takes to get the job done. And sometimes even when you don't want to do it, or it seems like all odds are against you, you just keep grinding at it and something beautiful comes from it. I don't think I've ever shared this on a podcast, but our very first production, UPS lost like $23,000 worth of our product, and it almost
Oh,
bankrupted us before we got started.
oh,
Yeah.
ouch.
Yeah, it was devastating, and it was like, what do we do? How do we go forward from here? Like we figured it out. Like we had pre-sold another batch. So like that was what was super cool. People that believed in us, that had experiences on the mat, and that's how it's grown for us, has been word of mouth. People are like, I feel so amazing. I want to share this. And that was literally what allowed us to continue going, is that people had had enough of an experience early on with our original prototype mat, which we literally brought all over the country with us and demoed in wellness centers and with our network of practitioners and friends. And yeah, the pre-orders are what allowed us to survive. And
Wow. I
people
just
willing to
always think,
wait.
oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to you. I just am always amazed when people have, especially Expo West, when we go where I met you, a natural product show where people are launching new products in the new product hall. I always am amazed of how do you get this idea into real life, and just all the work, the passion and dedication and consistency and grind, as you said, that it takes. And I don't think I could handle that, because after my own adrenal exhaustion, metabolic chaos, that I just, how do people do that? I don't have that in me. That's amazing. So good
You'd
job.
be surprised, because how you're showing up and helping the world, it's like you find the energy, and it's reciprocated. Like we talk about this battery inside ourselves, but it's like this is the battery of life. Like when we go to shows and we get to see people's experiences and the look on their face, and oh my gosh, my neck doesn't hurt. Can it work this fast? And we get these responses, like this is the fuel to our fire. This is why we do this. So
Wow.
yeah.
I need to get one so I can recharge my batteries and heal. We're going to Italy in a week for a 2-week vacation. And it's like, oh, I have this knee injury. I got to walk and my back hurts. I've got all this out of whack. I'm like, I can't go on vacation when I'm all falling apart. So you should have a rental agency.
We have a couple centers in Sarasota. I was going to say Sarasota, San Diego, where you're
Oh,
at. So I
North,
will,
North
yeah,
San Diego. Yeah, let me know. I'll go
yeah.
over there.
We have two I can think of off the top of my head. I can connect you, and yeah, go get a session and see how you feel. Because yeah,
Nice.
you don't need it
So,
that much to actually get the benefit, which is crazy. So the sleep study where we saw a 30% improvement, one 15-minute session from like at any point in time during the day, you can see
mm.
that kind of sleep benefit just when your body has enough energy.
But that's why I think it's interesting, the sleep study and gathering data, how it makes it more motivating for a lot of people to know, is this doing anything to my body? Testing and not guessing, having data before and after to see the changes is
Yeah, I
powerful.
mean, we're our own best guinea pigs now. So I will always lead with the fact that listen to that gut feeling, your instinct and intuition, like your body knows what it needs. I'm a data girl, I come from a very logical background. So I like to see it in black and white. So if you have biometric devices, just make sure that you're not transmitting, because those radio frequencies are harmful to our brain and body waves. We are very sensitive beings, but you can use an Aura ring, a Whoop, a Fitbit. And you can track your own data. Huge on biometrics.
When you're doing the sleep study, and then I'll wrap it up in a second, but on the sleep study, how are you tracking that data to go with in your study? How do you
Yeah. So
explain
in
it?
the pilot program, we're actually working with a company that does leverage whoops that people are wearing 24/7, and then Aura rings, which now are, because they've gotten so advanced with the data, we're able to use these things that people are tracking day in and day out. So they have very specific parameters, but you can literally see. I wish I had it pulled up. I could show you like the one night to the next. So say I'll send it and you can share it with your
Yeah.
audience. Like to see it in real time, like the Whoop, one of the participants slept overnight on the mat and was seeing literally a 30% improvement. But what was even more inspiring was the fact that the guy with the Aura ring that did a 15-minute session, never been on a mat before, never been exposed to PEMF, didn't even own it. He just went into one of our centers. He had that kind of result, and he didn't have to sleep on the device.
Hmm. Another thought, so I'll stop talking because I could talk for you for hours. But with the mat, what about for people that a big topic is middle-aged females and hormone changes and sleep? Have you done, when you're doing the sleep study, look at the female versus male and the changes based
I mean,
on,
that's not like initial, like, so we're trying to like go broad initially, and then we'll
yeah,
start diving into it, because that is something, I mean, as I'm aging as well, like something I'm obviously concerned about being
you're
like,
young.
yeah, well, you know, menopause, perimenopause, it's still like on the radar, right? Like every one of us goes through the change. It doesn't like I can't avoid it. So it's gonna
Yeah.
happen. And I want to like understand how to help more women because that is the broad portion of our audience as well. Um, I can refer you to listen to Dr. Amy Horniman and the podcast that I did with her too, because that's her
She's a
prime
good friend. We were
focus.
just texting yesterday. So yeah, I can ask her.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
So her primary focus and Karen Martell hormones as
Yeah.
well.
We just podcasted too. Oh, my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the family, right? So helping their audience feel better from the inside out.
Yep.
And this is a tool that they both leverage in their day to day. Karen with her migraines, oh my gosh,
Mm,
ask her to
yeah.
share.
Yeah. I'll have to message her. Yes. We were just all talking. I just met with Karen and Amy, but it is, I think, something such a huge topic right now is middle-aged women. I always try to talk about men as well because their hormones change and their bodies changing as they age, and I think everything starts to catch up if you don't take ownership of your health now and don't wait until it's serious problems. And really, I've been doing a lot of research on cognitive health and brain health and the connection of the nervous system with Martha Carlin and I, Dr. William Davis. We did 3 episodes talking about cognitive health and how to avoid diseases as Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and dementia, because that's a huge fear for a lot of people, including myself, as we age, and how it, rewiring your brain, how it's so related to chronic stress when we work backwards. Because even Dr. Davis kept talking about SIBO and gut dysfunction, the bacteria. And I'm like, wait, let's work above that. How do we get dysfunction in our gut? It starts up north. And so to me, it's like chronic stress impacts everything, including how we get back to the brain on the cognitive health. So I would think somewhere along the line, adding this modality into my routine would help the aging process, but brain health specifically in a roundabout way.
At a higher level, right? So it's like
Yeah.
chicken or egg. He's talking about SIBO, and it's like, how did we get there? Was it the stress that created the SIBO, or was, the gut dysfunction there already that created the stress? But either
Yeah.
way, this whole interplay of the
Accumulation.
body being stressed, how do
Mm,
we help us be more calm when
mm,
everything in our world is literally vying for our attention, whether we're getting stress
mm,
on a physical level from the air, food, and water that we're exposed to, the toxins we're putting on our skin, the clothes that we're wearing, like literally everything is a stress response on the body. So how can we do something that's benefiting us daily and helping remind us what it's like to be safe, to be in homeostasis, to be okay, to think a different thought?
for sure. I think it's feeling safe and knowing that, because you can't control all these stressors all accumulate in our beaker of stress. And what you can control is how you manage your stress,
Yeah.
right?
And
And
it's so
deal with what you can.
experiential. That's the one thing where it's like, I'd love for like we're sitting here talking about this technology, but what it's going to do for you is different than what it does for me. And it changes, right? Because we are a living, breathing being and we change every time we meet our mat. But it's so cool when people have this experience and they're like, wow, the mind chatter is just calmed down.
Yeah.
So that top down stress response stops and someone can think a different thought or they can drift off to sleep. And it's just, again, it's like, wow, it's really nice not to like have all of that noise,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's just for 60 seconds, right? Like, just again, the re education, utilizing it as a tool to just help you get from point A to point B. Like, the
Amazing.
next. Yeah.
Well, where can people learn more? I had the website up, but tell people where to find out
Yeah.
about everything.
I would say almost every platform. It's myalignmat.com on social media, on Instagram, YouTube. It's all myalignmat. Yeah, they can reach out. Our customer service is that's another thing that we pride ourselves in. Like anytime anyone has questions, we're here to like dive in and answer and help someone have the most amazing experience.
And you do put podcasting. You've done other shows. People can learn more that way too.
Yeah, different podcasts I mentioned, and then we actually host what's called the Line Time Live, hashtag not a podcast, but it's where we educate people on the technology, what PEMF is, a little bit about the history, and how people can leverage the technology to their benefit. So they come with questions, and we dive in deep to help people build protocols for themselves specifically.
Love that. All right. Well, I'll put what links we can and things we forgot in the show notes, and make sure you watch the YouTube video. I'll do an audio podcast release later on, but for sure the YouTube is the best place to catch us and
Amazing.
learn more. So thank you so much for your time, and talking shop with a fellow FDN practitioner is always fun.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.